Roltan on the far side headed for victory, and victory he won by a neck.
Well, I suppose the Epsom Derby would be the greatest. He was spectacular in that, showed a fantastic turn of speed.
The Irish Thoroughbred horse is a finely tuned equine athlete. Renowned around the world, the Irish horse has evolved through the centuries into a formidable animal, combining selective breeding with gifted horsemanship. Irish horse racing can now look proudly back on a rich tradition that has brought it to the pinnacle of its success.
It's like tomorrow morning that they're calling out the World Cup in soccer and Brazil is drawn against Ireland and Brazil can't sleep because they have to take on the Irish.
It seems that when it comes to racing, we have success in our genes.
Most of us are maybe only 1 or 2 generations away from the land, and I think maybe it comes from that. But if you look even at all the great jockeys in the UK, they're all Irish. In every aspect of horse racing and bloodstock, it's Irish people who are the key drivers.
Every year, Ireland produces great horses that can make the heart skip a beat.
Hardy Eustace still galloping. Hardy Eustace pulling it out from Archibald. Hardy Eustace defends his title.
The success of the Irish Thoroughbred today is not an overnight one. It is bred out of centuries of horsemanship, which gives us our competitive edge today.
I think historically Irish people have a disproportionate, if you like, love of horses. To really understand it, you have to go back into history. The period of the Celts, for instance. The Celts were known as Muintir na Tuatha, the people of the land. And horses were obviously a huge thing at the time. From farming point of view, but obviously for warriors, for battle, they were very important.
The horse was your way of getting around. He was your transport, he was your worker on the land, and children were brought up to respect him and like him. And then we always hunted here, and we got a great respect for the horse, and we got to know him, and the same way when they were being born, and it just built up from there. It was just part of our heritage. But unlike a lot of countries, we've an affinity with the old horse. We like him. We mightn't be mad about humans, but we definitely love the old horses.
When I was small, for instance, my grandfather told me that the best way I could judge a man was to see the way he treated his horse. And I think that kind of feeling would have been very common, that there was this, as you say, spiritual connection.
Modern Irish horse racing has evolved into 2 distinct disciplines: national hunt racing over jumps and flat racing where horses are bred for speed.
One is sport, the other is business. I mean, flat racing is business. Very few people venture into flat racing or in the big end of it that are doing it for the fun of it. They're doing it because at the end of the day, there's going to be a good payday. If you have a good colt, he may become a stallion and worth a lot of money at stud. If you have a good filly, she becomes a good broodmare and you can sell her offspring for a good price at the sales. National hunt people don't look at it that way. National hunt is about sport. It's a fella getting a horse, maybe to have a few quid on him gambling, but he's not looking at the prize money to know what it's worth. Like if a horse wins 3 Gold Cups, when his Gold Cup days are over, he's not worth anymore. Turn him out in the field and go and look at him and admire him, but he's not worth anymore. If you have a horse that's won 3 graded races and 3 Group 1s on the flat, and he's a colt, he's worth money as a stallion.
The national hunt is probably more rural insofar as the people that, by and large, that follow it are rural people close to the horse. The horse, he will run at least 10 or 11 years of age. He's around a long time. You can build up a relationship with a national hunt horse. With a flat horse you can't, because maybe at the end of his 3-year-old career he's gone to stud, because he's too valuable to keep racing. He's done what he can do.
The people who go to national hunt racing understand it. They like to gamble, and the people who don't maybe like to gamble like the enjoyment and the thrill of it and everything else, and it goes on. People who go to flat racing, people who go to the Curragh Derby Day, it's Derby Day, it's a day out.
The Curragh means place of the running horse. As early as the 3rd century, there were chariots racing on the Curragh. The first ever Irish Derby took place in 1866, and since then the majority of prestigious flat races in the Irish racing calendar have taken place at the Curragh. Today, the Irish Derby has prize money of over €1.5 million. The race is run over 1 mile and 4 furlongs in late June and is contested by the leading Irish thoroughbreds lining up against the best in the world. The event, with all its glamour and money, reflects a changed Ireland.
It's governed very much by the state of the country, the financial way the country is. I mean, if we're going well financial-wise, if the economy is good and there's plenty of old cash around, fellas will go race.
This is the Celtic tiger wagging its tail on every Irish racecourse. I mean, you only have to go around and look.
Mirroring the growth in the economy, more Irish people are able to retain the good bloodstock at home, and really it's a golden age of Irish bloodstock currently.
This year, in the lead up to the Derby, all eyes have been on Jim Bulger's horse, New Approach, after he won the English Derby. It's the morning of the race, and Jim Bulger declares New Approach a non-runner, leaving the door wide open for hot favourites English-trained Tartan Bearer and Dermot Wells' horse, Casual Conquest. Racegoers will be looking to the esteemed Irish trainer from the Ballydoyle stable that always seems to be in the running.
It's one of the world's great races. It's the full test of a 3-year-old over 1.5 miles. It's the fairest track probably in the world. Epsom can be tactical and you can have look and not look, but at the Curragh there's nowhere to hide, and it's usually the best horses from the French Derby, Epsom Derby, any of the best 3-year-olds around meet here at the Curragh, and this is the ultimate test.
Out of the 11 horses declared, 5 are from Aidan O'Brien's stable in Ballydoyle. All of his horses have been trained in Ireland, born from potent bloodlines designed for speed.
Aidan is a phenomenal trainer, but he's a very unassuming young man too. Yeah, he's a bit like Superman. You see the fella in The Office, Clark Kent. That's like Aidan, but yet when he gets out there, he's Superman.
Quite apart from the drama that unfolded in the early morning when New Approach was declared a non-runner, nobody could have anticipated the drama that would happen in the race, or indeed the outcome of the race.
The quality Irish thoroughbreds lined up for the Derby are not just the product of Ireland's boom years. The thoroughbred can be traced back hundreds of years. Tony Sweeney is a racing historian who has built up a vast store of horse racing archives.
We are enjoying a golden age of racing in Ireland at the moment, with magnificent horses, flat end jumping, and yet it is an extraordinary fact that every one of those thoroughbreds that you see in action on Irish race courses can be traced back in the male line to one of 3 late 17th, early 18th century stallions, all Arabian: the Darley Arabian, the Godolphin Arabian, and the Barley Turk. And the Barley Turk has his own special connection with Ireland, because he was ridden by Colonel Barley at the Battle of the Boyne when the Colonel was on the winning side.
Well, at the time of the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, the vast majority of the cavalry horses would have been Baroque horses. A lot of them would have actually been imported horses as well. But you also had the dragoon horses as well, and they would probably mostly have been native Irish horses. Again, these smaller, cobbier, pony-type animals, what we would call a pony now. The Barley Turk and some of the other Turkish horses that had been brought in as booty from the earlier campaign with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, they were radically different horses in their time. They were much taller, they were longer-legged, they were finer-skinned, they were racier animals altogether, and they would have been towering over the other horses on the battlefield and moving much faster and probably more aggressively than the horses as well.
the thoroughbred is the most documented of all human activities. When at the end of the second millennium, one could look back 250 years and record the pedigree and the performance of every horse that had raced in those 250 years, all the time going back to the founding fathers.
All thoroughbreds trace their line back to all three of the foundation sires. And in Ireland in particular, and the horses you'd say at Coolmore, for instance, it's noted for these very good, strong thoroughbreds, a very particular type of very, very hardy thoroughbred. And that can go directly back to the Barley Turk, because he began his breeding career here. He moved then to England and continued, but he would have covered Irish mares first. And you can see that influence perhaps still today in the horses that are running in the Derby. They have good bone, good legs. They are, for thoroughbreds, they are the solid performers of the thoroughbred world.
And this Derby chart shows how the Derby winners of modern times, High Chaparral, Galileo, trace back through Northern Dancer, through Nearco, through Pharos, all the way back to Birdcatcher, the greatest Irish horse of the 19th century, who in turn was a son of Sir Hercules, and Sir Hercules was by Whalebone, by Waxy, by Potatoes, and he in turn was by the mighty Eclipse, by Mask, by Squirt, grandson of the Darley Arabian, from whom all these modern Derby winners descend, 18 of the last 20.
Ireland has always been able to produce great horses. A combination of fertile limestone soil and favourable climatic conditions and competitive bloodlines. Therefore, it attracts buyers from all over the world to buy a piece of an Irish bloodline.
Ireland is the home of the thoroughbred racehorse. For years and generations, Irish people have been at the top of the thoroughbred tree, at the top of the horse racing tree. And if you went anywhere in the world and said, where do thoroughbred racehorses come from? The first place anybody would say is Ireland.
I'm from Istanbul and I visit Irish sales since '98, so it's been my 10th year. I became the person who purchased largest number of mares from one sale in '99, buying more than 100 lots from one single sale.
The last 5-7 years, with a huge economic boom in India, all our volumes have doubled, trebled. And I think this year should be a very good year for Indian breeders. We should probably spend a couple of million buying mares here.
The market has boomed in recent years due to many factors. One, the worldwide economy has been strong, but two, Irish horses have been performing above expectations. And the quality is the key word. Quality racehorses will sell and sell for good money at all times. And that's where Ireland has the edge, because Ireland produces arguably as many quality horses as there are anywhere.
We're looking for the conformation of the horse. We're looking to see the physical makeup, see how the horse walks, whether she has a good action, because normally they pass on their own physical attributes to their produce. So we're looking to make sure she's a nice, easy mover, that she has a relaxed move, that she's a nice swing to her, because if they walk with a nice, easy, athletic move, they normally gallop in the same manner. From an auctioneer's point of view, I have a look not to buy, I have a look so that I know what I'm selling.
We are the third leading breeding country in the world. We're the leading breeding country in Europe, but not just in terms of quantity, also in terms of quality. The best stallions are standing here, the best brood mares are here, the major breeders are located here, and it really has become a centre of excellence for Europe and indeed for the world.
Anybody who's interested in bloodlines in the world will be interested in these horses.
1444, the 4-year-old mare, young mare here by the wonderful Galileo, certified in foal to Holy Roman Emperor.
The excitement of racing is well chronicled. You see the people in the winner's enclosure, but that all starts in the sales ring. And I've seen people get just as excited when they buy a horse as when they win a race, because it is a battle of the bidders. People are bidding against each other. It's a show of strength.
15, come on, I'll give you 15, 40, 30, 20, I got 20,000 right, I got 20,000 20,000, if you're down 20,000 now.
When we get on, we ask for opening bids and we take the bids. And as the bids rise, for instance, we sold the top priced yearling in Europe earlier this year at 2.4 million euro. It was very exciting. We started at around 400,000 euro and went up in 50,000 euro units until we got over the million. Then we're going up at 100 and 200,000s. And it was very exciting. And everyone's craning to see who's bidding, who's that over there. And it could be a €1 million decision made in a split second like that, because I've got the hammer in my hand, I'm hurrying them along, I want them to have another bid, so I want them to get on with it. So I bring the hammer up, I say, last call, come on quickly. And they have to make the decision like that. It's like buying a house like that. You've got to do it, you've got to do it now. And they might have thought of it for weeks, for months, and then for hours, and then for minutes beforehand. They've worked out, we're going to go to our figure. Let's say the figure's 500,000 or 5,000 or $1 million. But then they think it's getting away from me. I want that horse. I really want that horse.
Anybody else here right? And 120 you all out right, handed down 120 now. And 120.
Sometimes it's people who are battling against each other on the race course and in the sales ring. They don't want to be beaten by that guy. They want to win. They want that horse. They've decided that's their horse. So they have another bid. That's what the vendor wants us to do. That's what we've got to do. And finally, we bang the hammer down.
And 120,000 and 120,000. Thank you.
The bloodlines of today's champions have a long and historic lineage. Thoroughbreds were primarily introduced to Ireland by the Anglo-Irish aristocracy.
Racing has always and ever been called the sport of kings, and that's no accident. It was patronised by royalty and by the landed gentry, and it was very much a rich man's preserve.
They ran races purely for their own pleasure. The fact that spectators came to watch was incidental. The 1700s was a time of wealthy landowners who lived on large estates and were following the lead of a more regulated approach to the sport in England, with the establishment of the Turf Club in 1794. This is the definitive period which acknowledges the divide in flat and national hunt racing. Many of the national hunt races were run in royal parks, and this was extensive land owned by the aristocracy themselves. But the first record of a race over jumps was recorded in County Cork in 1752. It started at Buttevant Church and finished at St. Leger's Steeple on St. Mary's Church in Doneraile. Hence the name Steeplechase. National hunt racing is the most popular form of racing in Ireland. Racing syndicates, where groups of people come together to buy a horse, have been a huge lift to the sport.
When we built the stables and that, I built this. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't never build that again, because what I want to do is I want to see the horses.
Noel Meade is 9 times national hunt champion. One of the horses he trains, Jazz Messenger, is preparing for the season ahead and the prestigious champion hurdle race at Cheltenham.
And then I bought him when he was a 5-year-old. He's been great success for the lads now, because he didn't cost a fortune at the time, and he's done very well for them. I think he's won about 300,000 now for them, maybe more, for a £15,000 purchase. That was quite good. If we could do that every time, we'd be very happy. I know of all the horses we have, the percentage of horses that would make money wouldn't be huge, you know, wouldn't be huge. But it's a game of chance, and people know that when they're getting into it too.
Well, Jazz, I think we have him, this is the 3rd year, and he's won a lot of races, I think 9 races. And he wasn't very expensive. If you want to be involved in racing, I'd say syndicate is the best way of getting in, you know, it's the cheapest way. And then if you're lucky, that's a bonus.
Like, it was originally sort of the sport of kings, but now everybody's in there. And we've had a lot of syndicates over the years. We had a local one here in the parish, actually, and everybody from the postman down to the man, one of the lads that worked on the road was in it, and it was successful too. They had a horse that won 3 or 4 races for them, and he did quite well.
I have a business up outside Navan, and I would be selling machinery and plant and stuff to, they're all businessmen, farmers, so we'd be all wheeling and dealing together, you know, so we end up probably racing then together. So that's how syndicates probably get together, from people in business mainly, you know. We've 4 in our syndicate there, and it's not really a problem, but I suppose if you had 15 or 20, you'd need someone nominated to conduct the business with the trainer, you know, and he comes back to the other members and tell them what's going on. So, you know, that's the only way it could work.
Like years ago, all the good horses were bought out of this country and exported to England. Now the trend has turned the other way. That in itself has driven the price of horses up. Like if somebody comes to me and they want a horse, they don't want a slow one. Nobody wants a slow one. So that makes the quicker ones worth more money.
In second place is Janet Messenger, then Desert Quest in the purple jacket.
It's the Christmas hurdle, Stevens' day. He was one of the outsiders, so the horse was in good shape, we were told, going over, so we were confident enough that he'd run well. So, and he did do that. It looked like he had won, bar a fall. Thanks be to God that didn't happen. Like Cheltenham is what, 2.5 months away, so it's actually 3 months away from that, so a lot can happen in the meantime with horses. So, you know, when they're right, you take your chance, you run them.
The plan is for he now to run in the Champion Hurdle. Well, the Champion Hurdle is the race for 2-mile hurdlers, and I mean that's the grade 1, and that's going to be very hard for any horse to win. Like over the last couple of years, we've had all the best hurdlers have been in Ireland, which is a bit unusual because usually it was the English was the other way around. But for the last couple of years now, we've had Hardy Eustace and Brevinka, and we have 3 in the race at the moment: Jazz, Aitmatoff and Archibald. And if they had luck on their side on the day, you wouldn't know they could maybe win. Sorry, I forgot about Subliminally, which was last year's winner, which would be very remiss of me to say that. And he's obviously a very good horse as well, when he won very easily last year. So that's where he's going to head. And hopefully, if everything goes right for him on the day and he has a bit of luck, we hope to be at the business end of things at the end.
The roots of racing's development can be traced back to the early part of the 20th century. Britain's bloody war was Ireland's opportunity in more ways than armed rebellion. Racing in Ireland increased dramatically during the First World War, while racing in the UK was curtailed, and with the introduction of conscription, there was an influx of jockeys to Ireland with formal licences.
The First World War was a bonanza for Irish racing, because the powers that be quite cleverly said to the government of the day, which of course was the British government, well, you know, if in the national interest or whatever, you want us to suspend racing, well, of course we feel duty bound to do so. But in the meantime, you know, if it's not affecting the war effort, we'll carry on. And they pretty much did. And every draft dodger from Britain jumped ship and wound up on the Curragh. It may have inspired some English owners to put down roots here, certainly to leave horses in training here, which they would never have been prepared to do before, and some may even have begun breeding operations.
Ireland was keen to capitalise on the downturn in the British horse racing industry, and this was illustrated by the initiation of 3 of the Irish classics during the most turbulent of times in Irish history.
It just so happened that Easter Monday, the Irish Grand National was being run, as it was run every Easter Monday. And there was a huge military involvement in racing. You know, owner riders, soldier riders, they had their own races, they had their own trophies, their own cups. Those interested, naturally enough, had all gravitated to Ferryhouse. And then they got word that there was some extraordinary commotion in Sackville Street, my God, yes, on Easter Monday.
By the late 1920s, racing became more professional, benefiting from greater prize money, and the advancement in railways meant that a good horse could travel from Listowel to the Curragh
with the spread of the railways in Ireland, which was actually much more rapid than it was in Britain, racecourses sprang up at railheads all over the country. And that was the only economic reason for their coming into being. Horses and people could be got there by rail. The entire populace flocked out to the racecourse because that was their entertainment. There was no television. In fact, I'm not even sure there was very much radio. And so a race meeting coming to town, which sometimes was only once a year, this was a major event.
It was not until the 1930s, when global recession instigated a time of reflection for the Turf Club. The political atmosphere of the day also took its toll.
This program aimed at restoring the unity of this island.
Eamon de Valera's decision to stop paying the land annuities to the British and their reaction in putting, first of all, a 20% ad valorem tax on livestock coming from this country, and then they increased that to 40%. That brought Irish racing to its knees. All the stallions fled out of this country because who wanted to send a mare in here, have her foaled down, and then have the foal copped for 40% ad valorem when he went back to England?
Unfortunately, in the dark times, like the 50s, the 40s, the good horses had to be sold. Once in a lifetime, a really good horse comes along, and you know this horse is going to be capable of something great. But because you have no other option, you know, you have to sell your pride and joy, and it's almost like selling one of your own children. Now, because we have money, we don't have to sell our horses, and we can afford to keep them here. And because also horse ownership has changed dramatically due to syndicates and so on, that there is the possibility of so-called ordinary people getting a chance to own or a part to own a horse that can run in Cheltenham, and that has made a big difference.
Today, prosperity in the national hunt scene has spread around the country, where midweek racing now draws fans from throughout the community.
There's a racetrack in almost every county. And the further outside of the capital that you go, the more localised the population. So if you go to a racetrack like Gowran Park, for example, not only do you get a catchment from some of the larger concentrations like Dublin and Cork and Galway, but you have a huge support from the local population. And it really is seen as woven into the fabric of society locally. It's a place where historically people have come together. You know, in spite of the competition from other sports, there's been no fall off in that, particularly with national hunt racing.
The Jazz Messenger Syndicate has come to Gowran Park to give their horse a run out to decide his prospects for Cheltenham.
7-2, mate. Still, we have to have an interest in it. Mate, could you put 100 on for me? Well, yeah, put 2 on. We'd be very happy if he's in the first 3 even, but good to see him win. So we'd be hoping for the best.
With Noel Meade's yard having a lean spell at this stage of the season, Jazz Messenger will have to find a performance that will keep the syndicate's dreams alive for Cheltenham.
He's hoping, you know, he's hoping. Sure. You know yourself, I don't have to tell you, huh? Oh yeah, it'd be great if he just gets his head in front at the right time.
White flag is raised, and they're off. Scarty Lad is the first to show in front from Catch Me de Valera. Lunaeus is next.
Look at the screen.
Lark Wing towards the inside. Jazz Messenger is next on the outside of Winds Now.
Come on, Jazz. Come on, Jazz.
There's no point in sending a horse over if he's not 100% right. He has to be very good.
Jazz Messenger is third and Lark Wing fourth, and they're 4 lengths in front of Lunaeus.
The top horses from England and Ireland, even France, are coming over for them races. So everyone's out there to win. So hopefully we get there and be in the first 3 anyway.
Come on, Jazz.
As they race up towards the finish, it's going to be a big race. Red Mills double for as Catley comes back to his best to beat Jazz Messenger.
He's on his best. On his best. You're second. Oh. Picked up a little bit of prize money. Huh? What do we get?
Ali McNamara again.
Not so bad. 20 grand for second. Huh? Well, he ran well. Happy enough with the run. So hopefully the next day he get it.
Even though
Plan A is still in motion. Go from there.
Plan A being
Cheltenham.
It's a crisp February morning in the middle of the national hunt season, and the surprise winner of last year's champion hurdle at Cheltenham, Sublimity, has been ridden out by work rider Robert Hennessy.
I come over here every morning to ride Sublimity, more or less. Sure, I couldn't let anyone else do it. When you have a champion like that, you want to be with him all the time, you know, make sure everything's done properly. There's no money in national hunt racing for owners as such. It's more fun. You go to Cheltenham there, you see the winners' enclosure. If an Irish horse wins, they'd be singing, dancing and cheering, us included last year.
For a challenge, followed by Afsoon. The final flight coming up. Bravinga joined by Sublimity.
Outside of that little inner circle, nobody really fancied Sublimity. Of course, it's history now. He bolted in. He came down the hill behind Bravinga and Archibald on the bridle, and when Philip Carberry pulled him out, he left him for dead.
And it's Sublimity who begins to kick on now. 3 or 4 lengths to Bravinga and Hardy Eustace, the vanquished champions, and a new champion. It is Sublimity who beats Bravinga.
Straight away then everyone says a new champion is born. Here's Sublimity. There's obviously question marks. Can he be as good as last year? But I think this year he's proved that he can do it. John Carr has proved that he can train a top-class horse, and Philip Carberry, no one doubted him for a moment that he couldn't ride a champion hurdle winner. So there's bigger expectations this year.
Sublimity's trainer, John Carr, like most national hunt trainers, has a close relationship with the land.
I've been here all my life. My grandfather came here in the 30s. We had a dairy herd up until about a year and a half ago. Very near Dublin here. We're only 14 miles from O'Connell Bridge, so we're milk for supplying Dublin market, you know. That was our market, you know. I think I've been here in Finglas now, and Chapel Lizard, I think there was 70 dairy herds back in the late 60s, and there's only, I think, 3 left now. So times have changed a lot, even in my time, you know.
With farming on the decline, John has devoted much of Ireland's boom years to his passion for training horses.
I don't think there's anybody I know in this job that's in it for the money. Either they have money or not. They're doing it for the love of it. The property developers and the builders have been very, very good to racing. A lot of them come from farming backgrounds, and they like horses and they like racing against one another. They're sort of the new gentry, you know, if you like, the new aristocrats.
The Sublimity camp now has its sights set on retaining the champion hurdle title at Cheltenham. Last year, the horse was a rank outsider. This year, the horse has been heavily backed as one of the favourites.
I try not to let it be stressful, because if you're stressful, it rubs off on your horse, so you can't allow it to get to you, the pressure, you know.
When he's fully wound up and fully fit, he's got some speed, it's unnatural speed. He knows himself where the winning post is, so please God he'll be first past it this year again.
Irish prospects for Cheltenham only really started to emerge after the Second World War. Although the country was weighed down by poverty in the 1940s, in racing circles, Point to Point, the precursor to National Hunt, was still going strong. This was a period of quiet investment by the Irish, with the establishment of the Racing Board by Joe McGrath in 1945.
Joe McGrath was in the institution of the first government here, the Free State and everything else, and he had a great love of racing, and he built wonderful studs. in Dublin and everywhere else, Glencairn up at the back of Leopardstown, where he had a training centre. Like, Leopardstown was gone down the tubes, and the McGrath family financially backed it. Just gave him a cheque and put it into the account and say, save Leopardstown. Would have been gone.
Joe McGrath got together with Judge Wiley, and between the pair of them, they lobbied successfully for the creation of what became known as the Irish Racing Board. Now that, through the birth of the Irish Racing Board in 1946, was the first time that the government had ever actively intervened to sort out the finances of Irish racing and put them on a firmer level.
The 1950s in Ireland was a period of development and change. Personified by the leader of the day, Sean Lemass, the country began to modernise and develop a future which looked beyond our shores. This atmosphere helped Irish trainers to move forward from being a cottage industry to boldly journey across the Atlantic to the American market.
Sean Lemass had come along. He had become Taoiseach in 1959. He had introduced in 1958 the first programme for economic expansion. And basically what he had done was dragged Ireland finally into the 20th century.
Irish racing at that time was a chrysalis, a butterfly waiting to hatch and fly away. And it specifically found its form in the shape of two men who could only be described as geniuses, and they were the trainers Paddy Prendergast and Vincent O'Brien.
Vincent O'Brien is the single most important figure ever, I would say, in world racing. He changed the face of racing. He did it in national hunt racing. He trained, Gold Cup champion hurdle winners back in the 1940s, Grand National winners. And then he switched his attention to the flat. He developed, Ballydoyle, the greatest training centre in the world, out of a farm. It was a farm down in Tipperary. They developed it to where it is now, the greatest racehorse training centre in the world. He had the vision to see that.
We began to look west rather than east as we traditionally had at that time, Paddy Prendergast and Vincent O'Brien. They engaged in an active crusade in America, particularly on the West Coast, which was unknown territory for us, to recruit owners, persuade them to put horses in training in Ireland. Paddy Prendergast, or Darky as he was known, he had a silver tongue, and between the pair of them, they were like evangelists going around America. And these extraordinary Americans began pouring in here, buying Irish stock.
Building on the developments of the 50s, the 1960s saw the glamorization of horse racing, as celebrities were associated with the sport. International travel made the world smaller, and Ireland took its first steps onto the world stage. In flat racing, the glamour and prosperity grew to new heights when Joe McGrath secured sponsorship from the Hospital Sweepstakes for the Irish Derby in 1962.
It was worth $8 grand in 1961. He stepped in 62 and made it a sweepstake race, and it was worth 64,000. He multiplied it by about 8 times. That was some injection. You could buy a house in Terranure for $2.5 grand in the late 50s. You could buy the whole of bloody Terranure for 64,000 that time.
Up to that stage, the Irish Derby was a race for horses trained in Ireland, and maybe a few maybe second-class horses might come from England to run it.
This year, we almost take it for granted that the Irish Derby will rate at least as well, if not usually better, than the French or the Epsom Derby. It's one of the best races of its category in the world. The seeds for that were sown by its move from being a relatively small domestic race in the early 1960s to be the major international race that had happened. Then, of course, you had great stories. Bing Crosby owned the winner Meadowcourt. He sang When Irish Eyes Are Smiling in the winner's enclosure here, beamed out to an American audience. That sort of thing just, works wonders for the profile of a race. It catapulted Irish racing onto a global stage.
While the flat racing scene was finding its legs in the prosperous times of the 60s, nowhere was the spirit of national hunt racing captured more than in the 1964 Gold Cup, which featured classic Anglo-Irish rivalry between Arkle and the English horse Millhouse.
In 1964 then, probably the greatest race, some might say, of all time. Certainly the most magical, certainly the most symbolic, I think, in terms of Cheltenham, in terms of the relationship between England and Ireland.
And this is the race now to the last fence. It's Arkle on the stand side for Ireland and Millhouse for England on the far side.
Millhouse was supposed to be invincible. He was the great British horse. He was their standard bearer. He was the symbol of, he was the equine symbol of the Great Britain. Along came Arkle then to challenge him. This was a horse that, in a sense, transcended sport. People who had no interest in sport all knew about Arkle.
Well, I think Arkle is the greatest chaser there ever has been.
As a non-racing man, I am sure that he is a great horse.
He's one of the greatest horses that ever was born.
All through the depths of winter, the tension built and built and built. And it built to such a degree, for the first and only time, Cheltenham moved the Gold Cup to a Saturday.
Millhouse was 2-1 on, Arkle was 2-1 against. Every Irishman that even knew how to bet or could spell the word bet had his few quid on Arkle.
I was at school, supposedly being educated, and I was pretty keen on racing even in those days. And I remember watching the Arkle Millhouse, their first clash in the Gold Cup on a black and white TV, and I still remember Peter O'Sullivan's commentary as if it was yesterday.
Second last fence, and they're still both full of running, still going great guns.
Millhouse had a style of bowl along in front. The other fella tracked him all the way and joined him at the second last and round the bend.
And this is it. And Willie Robinson's got his whip out, and Pat Teff is shaking up Arkle. And this is the race now to the last fence. It's Arkle on the stand side for Ireland and Millhouse for England on the far side. And this is it with Arkle just taking the lead as they come to the last fence.
And when Arkle sped away from Millhouse up that hill in Cheltenham, the English disbelief was palpable. You could feel it.
I remember Peter O'Sullivan saying, this is the best we've seen for a long, long time. And he was the best we'd seen. Millhouse was invincible for about 2 years, and this horse had made mincemeat of him. It was a great thing for racing, because people went racing then to see this great titan of a horse who had put the English firmly in their place. Brendan Bean wrote a song about him. Fellas went racing. The next time he ran at Leopardstown and Fairy House, we all went to see this hero who had buried the English.
Now, Istabrack and Charlie Swan go on in the Smurfit Champion Hurdle, and it's a colossal roar from the crowd.
When Arkle beat Millhouse, there was a yearning then for Ireland to be sort of great at something, and the fact they had a great horse was fantastic. Now Ireland struts, supreme.
The legendary Irish winners of the 1950s and 60s have paved the way for a unique atmosphere at Cheltenham's National Hunt Festival today.
One of the reasons why in the recent years we've had so many wins at Cheltenham is because now we have money. We don't have to sell our horses. There is the possibility of so-called ordinary people getting a chance to own or a part to own a horse that can run, and Cheltenham is the theatre of dreams.
It's got to be a sort of a monster now. It devours everything else. One time other meetings could stand on their own, but now every meeting is seen as a build-up to Cheltenham. Everybody that has a horse that wins a decent race now, the first question the press will ask him, everybody wants to know, are you going to Cheltenham?
Ireland is becoming a rapidly suburban nation, but luckily part of the culture is to revisit this sort of arena, and people like to come for the festival, for this backdrop, for the whole idea of Cheltenham, for the gambling game, and for their own team, the Irish team, to try and win things. And therefore I think it spreads out. It's not just one afternoon, at Twickenham. This is 4 days.
The first day of Cheltenham is an adult version of Christmas. It's an adult fairy tale, basically. And, grown men and women, but especially grown men, mature, sophisticated, intelligent, responsible, sober men, something just takes over them. And I think that they rediscover almost a second childhood. And there's something just about the place, that you feel you're walking on the shoulders of giants.
There's no dressing up. You go to Cheltenham, suit of clothes, or a jacket. You go in, there's no upstairs, downstairs as such. You go in there and you fella save up a few quid and go there, maybe a couple of £1,000, maybe 5,000 in his back pocket, gets his ticket, he goes over, he can gamble all day long, he can get a bit of grub at night, have a few drinks with the lads, stay up all night if he wants to, and maybe play cards. And if the missus wants to go with him, that's the term she's going under. No such thing as shopping, no such thing as touring around, arsing about, going racing.
I mean, this is Twickenham, Croke Park, all that sort of stuff. When you put the goggles down here, that's where you're into. And therefore people, however much they're boozy around, they're aware they're at something real. And sport often is a little bit phony. It ain't phony at Cheltenham. So when the Roar goes up for first at Cheltenham, they're awaiting a great festival of eco-athletics, but also a great festival with all the absurdities and disasters and glories ahead of a gambling game.
The crowds are building up on the first day at the Cheltenham Festival, where on and off course betting will amount to €1.5 billion. With the big race of the day, the Champion Hurdle, fast approaching, the Jazz Messenger Racing Syndicate have had to tear up their betting slips before the tape has been broken.
Last Thursday I was talking to Noel, and Noel said that he had a slight bit of heat in one of his front legs on Tuesday morning, and on Thursday it was okay, so we were delighted. We were looking forward to coming here. So he arrived over here on Saturday, and Sunday morning the heat was back in the leg again, so it was ruled out of it then, which was a big disappointment to us. Champion Hurdle is the one that everyone likes to try and get into. It's great to have a horse good enough to be able to run in that race, you know.
One of Ireland's other chances has also made it to Cheltenham. Last year's winner, Sublimity, is primed for battle.
This is All-Ireland final day for us, you know. It doesn't come any bigger or better. It's just a great Anglo-Irish rivalry between Britain and Ireland, and the best horses, jump horses in Britain and Ireland come together for these 4 days. Yeah, it's a big job even to get him here, never mind being here with a second favourite chance. It's, you know, we saw them fall by the wayside there in the last few weeks, so it's great to be here, you know.
Kalahari King Tony Dobbin, red and white quarter jacket.
An Irish winner is expected today, but whether an Irish winner will happen today, however much people pontificate, the reality is often different. I mean, very, very different.
And there is the reigning champion. How is he? How is the reigning champion? How does he feel? A1.
Wouldn't have been Sublimity's ground. So I would say even before the race, there was a level of expectation or a dampening of enthusiasm or expectations on behalf of the John Carr camp.
And away they go. For the 2008 Smurfit Kappa Champion Hurdle, and Ozana sent straight into the lead by Tom Scudamore.
Last year we went into the race and a lot of people didn't give us a realistic chance, so there was no pressure on. There wasn't a lot of pressure this year with the press. They were there every day before the race and before they went up to the stand. There was a bit of pressure there, you know.
Heading towards the third last, Ozana with Catch It and Sizing Europe coming at the leader. Sublimity was over in fourth place, a little untidy.
The ground was softer than the year before, certainly. But I knew we had our best done on the day, so I'm still hoping for the best, you know.
Ozana battling on, Sublimity to the outside, coming there again as he did 12 months ago. As he come round the final turn. Ozana, here's Sublimity coming there very strongly. In behind them, Sizing Europe has now got work to do. Punjabi runs on, then behind these scores there, the final five matches just ahead. Sublimity is challenging. Ozana on the far side of Punjabi as they race up the hill. It's last year's Drive Further and a Catch It in front. Ozana is rallying. Sublimity back in third from Punjabi as they race inside the 100 to go. Catch It by half a length for Ozana. Catch It is nothing if not game, and he's just going to see off Ozana and wins the champion. Ozana second, third Punjabi, Sublimity back in fourth, then Strawberry.
When you put body, mind and soul into preparing one horse for one race on one day of the year, and you're lucky enough to get him there, anything after that is going to be disappointment.
Trainers are remarkably resilient. I'm always amazed by how resilient they are. They will tell you, you know, that they train a lot more losers than winners, so that it's something that they get used to. And they'll say, well, look, the way it is, the next horse that comes into the yard could be Archer or it could be Nijinsky, and that's the beauty of this game. You know, you're always looking to the next race.
The philosophy is that it was Alan King's day this year. It was our day the year before. And I wished him well, you know.
Although an English-trained horse, Catch It, won the champion hurdle against the odds, Irish-trained horses still won 7 races at the festival.
I remember thinking to myself, well, 4 or 5 wins, and as it turned out, 7 in 2008, in any other year would have been a fantastic year. But compared to what we've become accustomed to, you know, the whole notion of the mind once expanded can never return to its original shape. When you get a flavour of 10 winners, it's very, very hard to be satisfied with just 7. It's like colour television. Once you've got colour, it's hard to go back to black and white.
The 1970s and 80s had their share of concerns with the fuel crisis, the troubles in the north, and high immigration. However, with the introduction of tax incentives for horse breeding, a quiet revolution in the world of horse racing was underway. The tax scheme was introduced by Charles Haughey when he was Minister for Finance and expanded upon in recent years.
We already had a few things which made Ireland potentially a great producer of thoroughbreds and bloodstock and a leader in the industry. The one thing we needed, the missing ingredient, was investment.
At the time, this was a cottage industry. Ireland was a small bit player on the world stage. This was important because it gave an incentive for people to put stallions at stud in Ireland.
Can we see you walk, please? Certainly.
In the same way as the IDA were very successful via the IFSC at attracting investment into Ireland that kick-started the Celtic Tiger. This is exactly what happened at the end of the 1960s for the horse racing industry.
And it was around the time that Vincent O'Brien got in tow through his son-in-law John Magner now with Robert Sangster. And they put together a syndicate of the 3 or 4 of them with a couple of American people. And of course the incentive was then to have the stallions here and they'd be tax-free. And John was picking the horses and Vincent was training them, and then they were standing them at stud.
Together they went to the Northern Dancer farm outside Toronto. They ended up purchasing a horse called Nijinsky, which cost them 84,000 Canadian dollars, which at the time was a prince's ransom. But Nijinsky obviously subsequently went on 2 years later to win the Triple Crown in Britain, in the UK. A strategy evolved to purchase stallions and to try to create a business and an empire based on breeding from these stallions.
Well, I believe
and then the Arabs could see the success we were having and they started to come here, and it just, as I said, success breeds success, and people want to be where the thing is healthy and well and good, and Ireland was seen worldwide as being the place to be.
When 1984 arrived and Sadler's Wells, when he began his stud career, that gave rise to untold other stallions. So his offspring and his offspring's offspring now completely dominate the landscape of the breeding industry.
All of a sudden horses started making 5 and 6 million, 10 million, like, you know what I mean? Like, up to that horses were making 400,000 or 500,000.
Sadler's Wells by himself was like the golden goose. Up until his retirement, he was commanding 6-figure sums and covering somewhere in the region of 200 plus mares a year. And it's created a bloodline and an income and a revenue stream that has copper fastened Coolmore's place in the breeding and thoroughbred industry.
The Coolmore Ballydoyle story was echoed through the 80s and 90s by others, including Jim Bolger, John Ox, and the trainer who has conquered nearly every continent with great winners, Dermot Weld.
I guess in the same way as great sports people inspire the next generation or even those below them to greater heights, Vincent O'Brien would have set a standard that other Irish trainers would have begun to follow. But rather than compete directly or head-to-head, Dermot Weld, for example, would have sought to find other ways to become successful as a racehorse trainer, and was very, very inventive.
All ready, Foster's Melbourne Cup. Light is on. Racing in the cup.
He's the only European trainer to win an American Classic which he did with Go and Go in the Belmont. He's won races out in the Far East, and most significantly, he's done what nobody else has managed to do since, and it's a few years ago now since he's brought Vintage Crop down to Melbourne and just socked it to the Australians in their own backyard.
After 3 away, Vintage Crop starting to storm home from Tennessee Jack. Tiago Nick in front. Vintage Crop is storming home on the outside. Vintage Crop on the outside. Got Tiago Nick with Mercator. And Vintage Crop has won the Melbourne Cup.
Significantly, each one of the Irish trainers, whether it's Vincent back then, John Ox now, Kevin Prendergast or Dermot, are incredibly talented in their own right. And with the significant financial sponsorship that's behind them with their patrons, have been incredibly successful, albeit Aidan in more recent times has pilfered the headlines.
They race up to the line. Mick Canales got away.
Aidan O'Brien, Vincent O'Brien's namesake, no relation, took over the reins at Ballydoyle in 1996. Since then, the Ballydoyle operation has become a major force in the world of flat racing.
Aidan O'Brien is clearly a phenomenon, and he's achieved more in the few years he's been at it than another 10 men could expect to do in a lifetime, in 10 lifetimes. And all right, people say that he gets the very best of the horses. Others before him have got the very best of the horses. They haven't delivered the way Aidan has.
Dr. O'Brien and the boss, John Magner, went to America and recognised the Northern Dancer blood and brought it back here to Europe. I'd say 90% of the top blood has came from that. It has totally changed the world in breeding racehorses, and most of those horses are here now at the moment. For the consistency that's in the breed is frightening. Dr. O'Brien made Ballydoyle into what it is, and like obviously it was generations of work he put into it, and we're very lucky to be reaping the benefits of that now. Like, we always felt that kind of we're doing our apprenticeship all the time really, and the majority of people training horses don't really come into their own until they're in their 50s, 60s. I think that's when Dr. O'Brien was really peaking. So it was a massive thing for us to get the chance to work with everybody and to learn from everybody. Just gradually building it all the way, Sean, and just getting yourself to the top. Just gradually building, but just getting yourself to the top.
The great trainers understand their horses as well, understand what they need. Mentally, you've got to have a horse in a good state of mind. I mean, it's easy enough if you get an easy-going horse who takes everything in his stride and takes his work and takes his food and takes his racing, there's no problem. But it's the fellow who's the warrior, the horse with terrific potential who has a little kink in him. And I think that's what really you show with the likes of Vincent O'Brien or Darky Prendergast or Aidan O'Brien or Dermot Weld. Like, they are great people at sort of maybe fine-tuning a difficult horse.
He's doing it very easy. Even though his ears are back, he's very happy. Just watch his eye blinking now, going along, look. Just keep watching his eye. See, his eye is very open and very relaxed. The problem with training horses is there's no right and wrong. There's no guaranteed way that works. They're all different individuals, and if there was a blueprint or a book or something, you could say that if you do this, this works. It's not like that, you know what I mean? It's like human beings, like what makes the good athletes great, or what makes the ordinary people be great athletes, you know what I mean? A combination of millions of things, you know?
You can't teach a fella how to understand somebody else. It's not written in a book. You've got to be out there and know your horses, and you look at them and you look at their eye and you look at their physique and you look at them in the stables, and they walk out and they stand and they say nothing and they watch the horses walking around. They say, he's happy, he's thriving, he's not happy. You can serve your time all you like, but you don't be able to do that unless it's in you.
Okay, Pat?
Very good, yeah.
Happy enough?
Yeah.
Good man. All right, Fergal. You're happy, yeah? Relaxed and well done.
hands like this.
Good man, Fergal. Well done. Well done, Fergal. That's Frozen Fire, the horse that's running the Derby. All right, Davy. The Irish Derby is a massive race. Always has been. There's no hiding place at the Curragh, you know. So it's the real test of a 3-year-old, a mile and a half, and usually it takes until the Irish Derby to sort out where the best horse is, I think, in Europe for everybody. But usually the best 3-year-olds go to the Curragh. And then when that happens, then you have a clash of them all, and that's the champion 3-year-old, really.
Since the heady days in the 60s, when Joe McGrath had the foresight to introduce the sweepstakes sponsorship to the Irish Derby, the race has grown to become the yardstick by which we judge the health of flat racing in Ireland. The race has a value of €1.5 million. With the best horses from around the world competing, it's usually something special that enters the history books.
They're in and they're ready for the Dubai duty-free Irish Derby, and away they go. Bashkarov and Hindu Kush are, as expected, at the head of the affairs in the early stages. Upton Gray is up there too, Washington Irvine also.
It was a race where the chief protagonists spent a lot of time watching one another. So Alessandro Volta was obviously the chosen one of Aidan O'Brien's by Johnny Murtagh, stable jockey.
2 lengths off them comes Alessandro Volta and Johnny Murtagh. Then comes Tartan Bearer, the favourite. On his outside is Winchester, then Curtin Call.
Curtin Call and Tartan Bearer were kind of both watching one another and watching him at the same time. And by the time they were turning out of the back straight, Seamie Heffernan was detached on Frozen Fire in last place.
And bringing up the rear is Frozen Fire as they race downhill towards the turn into the straight.
People weren't too concerned about him. And he was riding his own race the way he found it. He had a lot of confidence in his horse, obviously. And when he unleashed his horse down the outside, in spite of everything else that was happening to his inner.
As they race now towards the final furlong, it's Alessandro Volta on the inside, Tartan Bearer the near side, Curtin Call is in between them. Alessandro Volta veers right,
which was the whole field fanned out across the racetrack. He just came with one devastating run down the wide outside, which nobody anticipated.
And it's Frozen Fire who's dashed the lead.
The horse took off and descended like an eagle and scooped the prize.
As he raced out towards the line, Frozen Fire on the near side wins it. Casual Congress is second, Alexander Volta is third. So Aidan O'Brien, 6th Irish Derby success.
With Frozen Fire winning the Irish Derby, it's the 3rd win in a row for Aidan O'Brien's stable in Ballydoyle. Now surpassing the record number of Irish Derby wins set by Vincent O'Brien, Aidan O'Brien has extended a tradition born out of rich bloodlines and a love of the horse.
The first in a dramatic derby.
Coolmore success began more than 30 years ago and has come to fruition as a result of decisions that were made along the way. And the monopoly that they have on the bloodlines are the chief reason for the success of the horses that they're having currently on the racetrack, and then the virtuous circle of creating new stallions which will go to stud and breed the next generation of champions, hopefully.
The next generation is, however, facing new challenges with the withdrawal of tax breaks for breeding and a less buoyant economy.
Things that maybe we took for granted in previous years, such as sponsorship or such as the level of people getting involved in owning horses or people going racing, something we'll have to work a degree harder for. Race courses will have to continue to upgrade their facilities, continue to offer value for money. People are very discerning now, even more discerning in a recession. And I think we'll have to work harder to keep going at the pace we've been going.
Our economy might have slowed down a bit, but the world economy of racing is going well. And we have what they need. The raw material is here in Ireland. The best of stud farms, the best of land, the best of people, the best of mares, the best of stallions. We couldn't be in a healthier state.